Hello, Portland. This is Dave, the Bald Guy, putting the Bald Guy in baldguylimo.com. So before we get started, I would like to ask you to push that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up icon down there at the very bottom. If you do me that favor, that would be fantastic. So I'm sitting here, and it's, let's take a look. What time is it? It is 4 a.m. on the, was it the 21st? 23rd. I don't even know what time it is. 4 a.m. 23rd Pacific time. My sleep schedule's all jacked. So I'm sitting here with my sleepy cat and an open window. The entire country is apparently on fire. It's like 100 degrees everywhere, except here in Oregon, it's not 100 degrees. It's actually quite mellow. Seriously, this is the second summer it's actually done this, where it's been so hot everywhere, but not here. The West Coast has been doing pretty well in the weather standpoint. So anyway, yesterday I posted a video about prepping called Guns, Guns, Guns. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go back and take a look. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what I call the top 5 myth conceptions about the end of the world. These are things that I think that people are focusing a little too much on or haven't focused on enough. I think some of the stuff is dead on. I think some of the stuff is, nah, not going to happen. So let's talk a little bit about these. So the first myth conception is, and I'm going to lump these two into one category. Number one, cell phones and radio towers will be down completely. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think that the specific type of disaster or SHTF, whatever that's going to happen is going to say whether or not that's true or not. So when I was in my youth, in other words, 25 years ago when I had hair down on my shoulders, I actually worked in radio, and the few things I learned is all the radio towers have gasoline backups. They have, I don't know if it's gasoline or diesel, it doesn't matter, but they have gas-powered generators on site. So as long as those towers are standing, you'll potentially get a radio signal. I say potentially because there aren't any radio stations that I'm aware of that actually broadcast at the tower site. They have the potential to. All the AM towers, they actually have small little offices about the size of those little portable offices you see at construction sites. It's about that size, where they can, at a time of an emergency, actually broadcast from. The FM towers, I'm not sure. The FM towers are up in the hills. The AM towers are down where we are. And that's a whole different YouTube video on that one. So what you're going to look at there is as long as the towers are actually standing, you can potentially broadcast from the tower. As long as you can broadcast from the tower, there will be a broadcast. I guarantee you that. The FCC says you have to operate a radio station over the public airwaves for the good of the public. So everything's set up specifically. Even if it's just a 30-second recording that loops, there's going to be something. So the moral to the story is, in your preps, always have a radio that's battery powered. That way you can at least skim around. You'll hear something. It may not be what you want to hear. It may not be from next door, but depending on the tower, something will be going on. Okay, the other thing is the cell phones. Okay, so cell phones. So in between the time I worked in the radio business and today, I actually worked for Verizon Wireless for a very brief time. One of the things I learned about Verizon is they have these things called COWs. It stands for Cellular on Wheels. And what they are is they're big old trucks that have portable towers on them, cell towers, and they are used in areas of emergency. The best example of that would be New Orleans when Hurricane Katrina came. So what happens is the towers are down, or a lot of towers are down, or most of the towers are down, and a lot of people are trying to get on the system, and you can't get through. So Verizon will send, it doesn't happen overnight, it usually takes about a week for them to get there, these mobile towers, these mobile cell towers to the site, and it will actually increase the amount of calls that you are able to send and receive in that area. So your cell phone may be down, but it may only be down for 48, 72 hours before you're able to actually get an actual message out. So that is actually, it's a big myth. Again, it all depends on the type of SHTF scenario you're looking at, but really the cell phones will not be completely useless. If you have a smartphone, there's plenty of apps you can have loaded on it that will help you between then and when you can actually get a signal. So that whole thing is a myth. That whole thing is a myth. That technology, you know, unless a giant solar flare comes and hits us, what are the odds of that happening? It's probably not as common as everyone's just planning for it, but it's not as common as people think. So the next one is that bugging out should be plan A. Bugging out should not be your plan A. Bugging out should be your plan B. Here in my house, this is plan A. Everything's here, everything's stored here. Yes, I have some bug out bags just in case, but everything I have is here. I have 110 gallons of water stored on site. I have prepper food all set up. I got the electronic battery backup for my wife's CPAP machine just in case the power goes out, and so on and so on and so on. Bugging out to me is a very controversial thing. Because some people think, oh my God, the power's out, let's go bug out. No. Only if where you're at is not habitable or you think you can live better somewhere else should you bug out, in my opinion. I've met people who have the proverbial cabin in the woods that's hidden away, that nobody knows where it is, and as soon as there's a sign of anything, I'm going to go move out there and nobody will ever hear from me again. And that chances are, you're probably right, nobody will ever hear from you again. Because in that kind of scenario, so little Thanos comes down from the Avengers movies. He comes down and he snaps his fingers and half the population, half of everything just disappears. Okay? So what happens then? You bug out, you go away, people are sick from a virus or something, people are, mass robberies, whatever. After a while, it's going to calm down. You're still out there. Oh, I'm going to stay here. I'll be safe. Well, if you're out in the middle of the woods, what's going to happen come firefight season? When the firefighters start come out, well, half the people are gone. They can't fight the firefighters, so the fires are just going to come and engulf everything, including your house. Here's another scenario. Here's what really gets me. And I'm going to sort of use this to seg into the next category. I'm 47 as I record this. When I was 42, I had a widowmaker heart attack in my sleep. I got lucky because the pain woke me up. Okay? If I was out in the middle of the woods 4 hours from anybody, I'd be dead. So the idea of going someplace where you're not around anyone is a bad idea. So I'm going to use this to segue into, from bugging out, not being plan A, to the next category, that all people are the enemy. I really wouldn't be surprised if people left the area if they felt they weren't safe in the area. That's sort of the point of bugging out. But what are you going to do if you're at your bug out location in the middle of nowhere where no one can find you and you fall and break your leg? Yeah, I got a first aid kit, but unless there's some actual medic there, I can set a broken leg. You can't do anything if you saw it on YouTube. Oh, I saw it on YouTube, I guess I can do it. No. You need to have somebody with you who's an actual medical professional. And I'm not talking about someone who took some classes in community college. I mean, that's helpful. But in a bad situation such as a heart attack, you need to have a cardiologist there. You need to be in a hospital. And that's what happened to me. I ended up in an ambulance in a hospital. They shove a tube in my crotch. They put some stents in my heart. Yay, I'm solved. I'm free. I'm cured. Everything's great. Almost a year to the day later, I had my second heart attack. Wasn't as bad as the first, but it was bad enough. 6 months after that, after they put in more stents, I was starting a third heart attack. They stopped it and said, we're just going to give you the double bypass and everything's good. So within a year and a half of each other, before I turned 44 years old, I'd had 2 heart attacks and a double bypass. And some people want to go hang out in the middle of the woods somewhere with a bunch of food and their guns and think that they're going to be fine. They're not going to be fine. The very first time you need serious medical help, you're going to be getting into your car and trying to go to the nearest where you think a hospital is. And that's probably not a great idea. A bug out location needs to be considered temporary because you're not getting any younger. You're definitely not getting any healthier. I was stupid enough to smoke for 20 years, and that's what almost killed me. Fortunately, I learned my lesson on that. I don't smoke anymore. But regardless of that, other people are not the enemy. They're just trying to survive like you and I. They may not have prepped like you and I, but that doesn't mean that they A, can't be helpful, B, shouldn't be helped. When we, part of our bug out plan here is we're going to go check on the old lady who lives across the street and see if she needs any help. She wants to come with us. Now, the old lady who lives across the street is what they call an extreme couponer. Seriously, though, her entire house is filled with stuff that she's... So, she's prepped without even knowing it. This woman has completely prepped for an SHTF situation, and she doesn't even know she's prepped. Because she's got all... Her house is filled with just stuff. It's literally her hobby. It's what keeps her going. She's an extreme couponer, man. I've always said that the best prepping videos on YouTube aren't prepping videos. They're camping videos, they're couponing videos. Those are your best prepping videos. Well, she's set up. She's good to go. So as long as it's not a violent situation, I think actually she'd do all right. If we bug in, we'd always keep an eye on her. And there's it also kind of goes into our next category. So I'm going to leave that scenario kind of off to the side for just a minute. The next category that I think people kind of talk about, but for some reason makes no sense to me, is buying a bunch of silver and gold. They say that's going to be the currency of the future. Well, if you've got an apocalypse scenario, a bunch of gold and silver doesn't feed my belly, doesn't protect my kids. It's useless to me. It's useless as much as money. So silver and gold are pretty useless. As far as I'm concerned, the economy of an apocalyptic scenario is going to be trading. You're going to be bartering. Old school bartering. In my limousine business that I have, baldguylimo.com, I actually make my own wine that I use to actually give away in my limousine business. I got bottles and bottles and bottles and bottles and bottles and bottles of wine just laying around the house. So that's our bartering item is alcohol. Alcohol's good for people who just want to get drunk. Alcohol's good for cooking. You can also use it to sterilize depending on how much alcohol's in the wine. But that's neither here nor there. Silver and gold are going to be useless in an apocalyptic scenario. I don't understand why people are like, I go out and buy my silver and my gold. No, that's not going to happen. Get something that people are going to want. You're going to trade. We don't drink coffee. Part of my preps is big containers of coffee. Ready to go. Sealed up, ready to go. And I do that because I need to trade it. People here in the Northwest love their coffee, so we'll be trading in that. The last thing I want to talk about is people talk about their bug out scenario and they're going to get in their shoes on and they're going to walk to their wherever the hell they're going. I don't understand that personally. I have a motorhome, and that's used specifically for camping, specifically for bug out situations. This will work out quite well for us. Okay? One of the things that I don't understand people don't do is use a boat. You can buy a boat that has, bathroom, refrigeration. It's basically a floating RV. Find what you consider to be a safe body of water. Well, once SHTF happens, get in that damn boat and you just take it out to the middle of the wherever the hell you're at, throw down the anchor. It's not like you're not going to know when another boat approaches. You're going to hear the damn thing. So you can be there in the middle of the lake. No one can bother you. Nobody can get to you. The odds of somebody swimming to you are pretty, depending on the size of the lake, of course. But you get what I'm saying. You got a moat around you. You know, you got this big body of water. And depending on the time of year, it may be too cold for people to consider swimming. But it might be a good place to actually just kind of hang out. Okay? So I don't understand why people don't do that. You can get these boats, you can fix them up. Just like my motorhome I got pretty cheaply just because it needed some work, and we've been doing some work to it. So anyway, consider a boat in your SHTF scenario. Anyway, that's our funs today. I think I've severely wasted 10 minutes of your time. But that's what we're talking about today as far as prepping is concerned. Do me a favor. I would like to hear what you think people are, your version of the misconceptions of what people are talking about when it comes to prepping. Okay? So let's hear what you think other people's misconceptions are, freaking out. Maybe I'm wrong on things. I'm not going to sit here and say I know everything about everything. That's arrogant presumption. But I want to know what yours are, so go ahead and put it down in the comments below. Also hit that like, that big thumbs up down there. Do me a favor and click that for me. Hit that subscribe button. You'd help me out a lot. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you later.